Ethan Keller had finally stepped out of the shadow of his 5-year marriage and was cautiously embracing single life in Cedarwood, Ohio. At 33, he had learned the hard way that love could be both intoxicating and devastating. Friends urged him to meet new people, to start fresh, and that was how he found himself meeting Hannah Mercer, a woman whose charm was disarming and whose laughter seemed to echo with warmth. Their connection was easy, natural, and above all casual. They both agreed to keep things light. For Ethan, it was a relief. No pressure, no complicated entanglements. A few weeks later, life threw him another curveball. He met Maya Sinclair at a local bookstore. She was striking. Jet black hair, piercing gray eyes, a presence that seemed to fill the room. Conversations with her were effortless. They laughed, shared secrets, and almost immediately began seeing each other. Ethan was honest about seeing both women, and initially, it seemed that everyone understood the boundaries. For months, Ethan managed the delicate balance. Hannah and Maya never met, but he kept each relationship separate, believing he was navigating a harmless arrangement. Then slowly the first cracks appeared. Maya's texts, which had once been playful, began to edge into obsession. "Why are you not answering?" she would ask. "I miss you," came another. But the tone shifted rapidly to something darker. "You cannot ignore me. You belong to me." Ethan tried reasoning with her, reminding her of their casual agreement. For a brief moment it worked, but the obsession returned with renewed intensity, culminating in demands that he move in with her, an impossible request after only a few weeks. Alarmed, Ethan ended things. That was when the harassment began. Started small. Packages arrived with cryptic messages. Strange phone calls came at odd hours. Shadows moved outside his apartment when he was alone. Ethan confided in Hannah, who suggested documenting everything and seeking police intervention. Yet, as the harassment escalated, even law enforcement began to suspect Maya, attributing her erratic behavior to the bipolar disorder her friends and family often mentioned. The terror escalated dramatically one December night. Hannah returned home to find her living room engulfed in flames. She barely escaped. Her house, once a haven, was now reduced to a charred skeleton. Ethan, frantic, could only say, "It must be Maya." Yet a small part of him felt the unease of something deeper, something darker. Over the next 2 years, the harassment persisted. Packages continued to arrive. Strange calls and texts kept Ethan and Hannah on edge. Every attempt to rebuild their lives was met with disruption. And yet, Maya had disappeared months earlier, cutting off contact and supposedly relocating for work. Ethan's world collapsed around him. Every harrowing moment, every fear he had endured, had been a carefully designed illusion by the woman he trusted most. And just when he thought he could start to process this unimaginable truth, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. "You think it is over, Ethan? You have no idea who you are dealing with." The sender was not Maya. The sender was Hannah. Ethan's stomach sank. Every shadow, every whispered fear, every strange sound in his apartment suddenly made sense but also felt more terrifying. The danger had never been outside. It had always been closer, always inside the very heart of his life. And in the darkness beyond the apartment window, movement flickered. Welcome to the True Crime Logs channel, where we tell crime stories of love, betrayal, and unsolved mysteries. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ethan stared at the message on his phone, his hands trembling. "You think it is over, Ethan? You have no idea who you are dealing with." For months, he had been trying to rebuild his life after the relentless harassment he thought came from Maya Sinclair. Now, the truth had shattered him. The danger had never come from Maya at all. It had always been Hannah Mercer, the woman he had trusted, loved, and believed to be his anchor in a chaotic world. Detective Lydia Voss, the lead investigator, leaned over the table, her expression grave. "Ethan, what you endured goes beyond ordinary harassment. Hannah Mercer orchestrated everything. She created Maya, fabricated threats, manipulated technology, and even burned her own house to frame an illusion." Ethan shook his head. disbelief etched on his face. Why would she do this? What could she possibly gain? Voss's gaze was steady. Control. Complete control over your life. She wanted you dependent on her fear and her presence. That is how she manipulates, Ethan. And she is still out there. The weeks that followed were a living nightmare. Every sound outside his apartment, every knock on the door, every shadow cast across his walls felt like a trap. Then one night, a package appeared on his doorstep. Inside was a small, ornate box and a note, the handwriting unmistakable. You cannot hide from me, Ethan. I am always closer than you think. The detectives traced the package to a storage unit Hannah had rented on the outskirts of Cedarwood. What they found inside was chilling. Monitors, speakers, and cameras all positioned to observe Ethan's life. Surveillance footage showed Ethan moving through his apartment, unaware that he was being watched constantly. Hidden among the devices were laptops and drives containing detailed records of Maya Sinclair, an entire digital persona Hannah had constructed. Every text, every call, every threat that Ethan had received from Maya had been meticulously orchestrated by Hannah. Ethan collapsed in the evidence room, staring at the files. It is like she created her own world, and I was trapped inside it, he whispered. The investigation revealed Hannah's disturbing brilliance. Using deepfake technology, she had sent text messages and made video calls in Maya's voice, escalating conflicts at exactly the right moments to maintain control over Ethan and Hannah's own narrative. Each arson, each threatening package, each mysterious phone call was part of an intricate web of deception. And yet, the final twist was even darker. Among Hannah's files, police found a letter addressed to Ethan, written in chilling detail. Ethan must know the truth. He must fear me. Maya was never real. She was my shield. And soon, the world will understand the depth of my genius. Ethan felt the weight of every terrifying moment he had endured crash down upon him. She is unstoppable, he muttered. Even if we catch her, even if she is behind bars, it will not end. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. A neighbor remembered seeing Hannah leave her apartment in the dead of night, carrying a black suitcase. Pawnshop records revealed electronics she had sold under a false name. The trail led Detective Voss to an abandoned warehouse in a neighboring town. Ethan followed the police cautiously, heart pounding. Inside, the fog of the night pressed down, and the faint echo of a woman's voice reached his ears, distorted but unmistakably Hannah's. She stepped out from the shadows, calm and composed, her hair slightly disheveled but her eyes gleaming with icy precision. You finally found me, she said, her voice carrying a faint amusement. I wondered how long it would take. Ethan's breath caught. Why? He asked, voice barely audible. Why do all this? Hannah smiled, faintly, almost imperceptibly. Because the world is too easy. People are too predictable. I created the chaos, and you were my perfect experiment.